Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Well, poddies, it has been a big week over here. I am prepping my little socks off because I am speaking at the amazing Jen Hall's Expert Unrivaled event next week, which I'm very, very excited about. 4 days to go, 3 days to go, I think, which is going to be awesome. And also something really cool happened to me today. Ali Brown mentioned me on her Glambition radio podcast. It was very exciting. You can actually hear her talk about me, little old me, on episode 179, Your Ego Loves False Metrics. Now, that was really cool. I didn't know that she was going to do it. So it's very exciting. I woke up to a little email this morning that said, "Hey Jess, I mentioned you on my podcast. It's going out in a couple of weeks' time. You should take a listen." And it is now out, right? It's going to be out. So I think it comes first week of October. So it is now out. You can actually go and listen to it. And the really, really cool thing is that Ali is talking about my journey and about some of the things that we covered in our VIP day back in September, which is really cool. And talking about some of the new directions I've been taking, the missions that I've had in my business. And she shares actually about the corporate revenue stream stuff that I've been talking about over the last few months and that my event next month is based on. So at the time of recording this, we've only got a few tickets left, but if you do want to see if one is available to grab, make sure that you head to the link in the show notes. You can grab a ticket to the corporate event if there are any left, or you can grab a virtual ticket. If there are no in-person tickets left, you'll be able to grab a virtual attendance ticket. We are selling 30. So we're only selling 30 spaces for virtual attendance because I'm going to be doing some Q&As and stuff with those guys afterwards. So we're limiting those spots. But how cool is that? I had a real fangirl moment. I was like, oh my goodness, this is like best thing ever. How cool is it when someone epic mentions you? Not only that, but they're like including the link to the corporate event in the show notes. And she talks about my mission and the stuff that I'm doing, the big changes that I've made this year to help entrepreneurs add a corporate revenue stream. She even says I'm the best person in the UK. Isn't that cool? So yeah, you can go and listen to that. It's episode 179. It will be out at the time that this episode goes live, which I think is very, very exciting. So if you do listen to it, make sure that you do go over onto Instagram and let Ali know, tag her, tag me. She's at Ali Brown Official and I'm obviously at Jess_Lorimer. So you can tag us in on Instagram, let us know what kind of key takeaways you get from that episode, whether you think it's interesting to hear the behind the scenes from my coach on what I am like as a coachee, mentee, whatever that is. But it's also been an exciting week because this week we went car shopping. Sam and I, for a while, we've needed cars. I say we have needed cars. Look, in all honesty, Sam has needed a car because he traded his in before he went away last year. And when I say traded in, he handed a car back to a garage and said, I'm going to be away for such a long period of time. I don't need a car. I'm going to drive Jess's. And needless to say, my Suzuki Swift, cool as it is not necessarily speedy enough for Sam. It's also not cool enough. I'm not a cool person. I'm not hipster. But having been driven by the boy racer for a few months, and the fact that it was my 30th birthday, and I think I'm kind of having my, is it quarter life crisis? No, it's definitely midlife, isn't it, now at 30? Because, you know, let's say third of life crisis. You know, I have no plans to die before I'm 90. Because it's my third of life crisis, when we started looking at cars for Sam, I kind of was like, oh, I would like a car too. And it was really interesting. We had two very, very different car purchase experiences. And I was reminded of an awful lot, got offered a job, and learned a lot from both the experiences that we had. So I wanted to share them with you today and just explain to you what going back and buying a car did for me this month. You know, what car I actually eventually got, because obviously everybody cares about that. And what those experiences can do for your business, because I think it's so important. And I've often been of the opinion that car sales people are, they're always into it. They're always a little bit sleazy, always a little bit hard sell, pushy. And I had 3 relatively different experiences. So perhaps I need to use a different analogy now. When we're talking about sleazy salespeople, maybe I cannot say car salespeople anymore. I don't know. But if you get to the end of this episode and you have had a fun, interesting, good, already terrible car sales experience, head over onto Instagram and do share it with me, because I'm now incredibly interested in the world of car sales and I had some really, really fun experiences. So let's talk about this. Sam and I, this is how it all happened. I think this is important context for you guys to know how different in terms of purchasers we are. Sam and I are heading home from a weekend away in London. We're like, oh, this is nice, I'm feeling chilled. And we're actually on the train home when Sam says, I think I need to buy a new car. And I say, oh, yeah, it's probably about time. You're going to be home for a few months. That's great. I need my car. Yeah, a new car is practical. Good. And so we sit on the train, and in the moments that we have 4G Wi-Fi, Sam is searching for his next car. All good. I'm kind of sat there, I'm playing like word cookies or whatever the game is called. Now, Sam likes BMWs, always has done. He has driven a BMW ever since his second car, and he's now had, I think, 4 or 5 cars in total. So he likes them. He likes the way they drive. He has a favorite color that BMW use for their paintwork. And I think, in all honesty, having BMW, it just, he likes everything about them. The little techie, smart things that they come with. He likes the way they drive. He likes the fact that if he gets a rear wheel drive, he can throw it out a little bit at the back and scare me as we're going around a roundabout. So he's sat there and he's looking at the BMWs, and as you do, when you have a certain brand of car, you take it to the same garage to get MOT'd and serviced and stuff. So he's looking at this garage where he usually takes his BMWs to get MOT'd and serviced, and they happen to be one of the largest BMW dealerships in the country. So it's all very exciting. He's looking at it all. He's getting very excited, and I'm kind of like, yeah, cool. Look, I just scored 80 points on a word. And by the time we actually get off the train, before we're even at our stop, he says, I found a car. And I'm like, what do you mean you found a car? He's like, I found this car, it looks great. And I'm like, great, cool. Call them and see if we can go and test drive it this afternoon. So we're coming back on a Saturday. And so, again, dodgy train signal, but he manages to get through to the dealership and they say, yeah, sure, come in and test drive it this afternoon. Off we trot. Get off the train, put our suitcases in the boot of the car, my terrible, lovely little Suzuki Swift, and off we hop to the car dealership. And we get there. And the chap's name, Ryan, he was great. Also about 8 foot tall, which, Sam is not often considered short by anyone, but even he was like, wow, this guy is tall. I never have to look up. And so we walk into the dealership and we say to the lady on the front desk, we talked to Ryan earlier, apparently we can test drive this car, and she goes and gets him and they offer us coffee and it's all really nice. And we sit there and he says, okay, great. I can show you the car, but it's only just come in. It hasn't been valeted yet. And the tire pressure is low. So I can't actually let you test drive it. And so Sam's like, right, okay, that's cool, because he knows how BMWs drive. Now, before Ryan, let's call him Lovely Ryan, before Lovely Ryan lets us go and look at the car, he asks us a series of questions. So really good questions, actually. I was really quite impressed. So he asks us, what are you looking for in a car? When I say he asks us, he actually treats me like I'm part of the sales process, which is really nice. Even though I'm not the primary purchaser or purchasee, he doesn't just ignore me in the sales process. I get offered a coffee and a tea and a water, the same as Sam. He doesn't assume that because I'm female, I know nothing about cars, which, by the way, he'd have been perfectly within his rights to do. I know nothing about cars. But he asks us these questions. He asks us things like, are you planning on starting a family? Do you need a practical car? To which we both laugh and say, no. I don't think there have ever been 2 people who've said no quicker. But hey ho, it made us laugh. So he asked us about practicality. How practical do we need the car to be? Are we going to have children? What is the car going to be used for? How many miles is it going to be doing per year? What kind of wheel drive does Sam like? You know, you can tell as I'm saying these terms, I have no idea what they mean. But he asks us these questions. He asks about car colours. He asks how many BMWs he's had before. Which ones did he prefer? Which did he like to drive most? What does he most value in the car? And the answers from us both are very different. You know, when he says to Sam, what do you want? Do you want like a manual or an automatic? Sam's kind of like, I want, you know, something that's fun to drive. And when he says to me, what's your biggest priority of the car? I'm like, I just want it to have a good sound system because, you know, when I'm a passenger, Spotify, I've got to make a playlist and it's got to be good and I've got to listen to it top volume. And then he takes us out to see the car. He says, look, hasn't been valeted, but get in the car. Imagine yourself in this car. What does it feel like? Adjust the seats, play with the wing mirrors, use the little techie things. It's got this cool center console thing where you don't have to wind it around to find letters when you're searching on the sat nav. You can just draw them in with your finger. Yes, that I was particularly impressed by. Okay, I really was. So Sam gets in the car, he loves it. I get in the passenger seat, I love it. I think it's great. You know, there's room for me, there's room for Max. The seats are leather and they're heated. I like that a lot. And so we get out of the car and he explains, like, let me show you some other cars that also match your requirements. And then you can check that this car is the right one. So we go and look at some other cars and he explains the features and he explains the benefits and he takes the time to answer the questions, and he does, you know, he's like, sit in the cars, play around with them. But ultimately, that one that Sam saw on the internet that hasn't been validated, that has the low tire pressure, he wants. Okay, that's his dream car. So we go back in the showroom and he talks us through all of the options and it's great. He asks us, what are the biggest things for you that you worry about with your car? You know, do you worry about the paint chipping? Do you worry about the interior having something spilt on it? Do you worry about having an accident and not being able to go to your insurance company and get the amount of money that you paid for the car back? These are clever questions because what Ryan is about to do next is upsell us. Okay, so when we say, yeah, actually, we're a little bit concerned because, you know, Sam drives like a boy racer, that he may at some point, I don't know, drive it into a post or something, hopefully at a very slow speed. But knowing BMWs, like, you know, it's probably got a big old dent in it. So he sells us something called gap insurance. He's like, oh, then you should get gap insurance and you should think about this. And it's a very, very smooth upsell. And it's done because he's asked the right questions. He's identified a pain point and he has offered us something that may meet that need. We, of course, buy it. He's asked real good questions about the condition of the car. Do we want somebody to come out and change the tires if they get split? Now, we've had incidents with our cars before where somebody, I mention no names, has driven them over massive rocks in the middle of the road and slashed tires. So yes, turns out Tire Protect, really good thing for us, and we buy that too. In the end, we walk away with almost £1,000 worth of extra products that we probably wouldn't have bought or even known about had he not asked the right questions and then offered us the solutions. It was a really good experience, okay? We walk away from the showroom, Sam's super happy, he's getting a car in his favorite color, it's really cool, he's gonna look like a, I don't know, cool person when he drives it. I walk away thinking, yay, the car has something called X-Drive, which apparently means it's really grippy, it's more likely to stick to the road, and I don't have to worry about him at 5 o'clock when he drives back to work on a Monday because, you know, that car's gonna stick to the road, the tires are fine, and even if he gets stuck in the middle of nowhere, someone will come out and fix it. All good. And then the aftercare process is really good. You know, a week ago, we talked about creating experiences for your customers and that whole importance of buyer's remorse and making sure that we proactively prevent it. So, you know, Ryan and Sam are in touch by email over the week. He phones him, he tells him that the car's going to be ready, what time it's going to be ready, when we can pick it up. It's all good. Yeah, it's all smooth. We pick up the car. And, you know, we go in and he immediately comes over to us in the showroom. Hi, Sam. Hi, Jess. So good to see you. Bet you're so excited about the car. Shows us how the car's been valeted, shows us how good it looks now, signs the paperwork, you know, says, oh, I know you're going to be really happy with the car. Jess, what about you? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want a car. I don't need a car. I've got my Suzuki Swift. Look at that bad boy. in the car park next to all of these BMWs. And he's like, well, if you ever need one, you just let me know. And he shakes Sam's hand and he gives me a kiss on the cheek, and off he trots back into the showroom, and we walk away with the new car, or we drive away with the new car and with the gap insurance and the tyre protect and the everything else that comes with. Great, good experience. Over the next couple of days, I start thinking about what he said. I've got Suzuki Swift. It's okay. It's good. It doesn't light me up when I drive it. I don't get really excited to drive it, but you know, it's a practical car. It's got 5 doors. I can pick up my nan in it. Yay! I can go to Tesco if I want, but I have everything delivered realistically, so it doesn't really matter. But what he said sticks in my head. Jess, do you need a new car? You know, would you like something fun to drive to? And I think, well, yeah, actually, I probably would. And so I send him an email. I say, hey, look, Ryan, by the way, I'm kind of thinking that I would like a car. Now that I'm 30, you know, I'd quite like to look at my options and have something that's completely impractical. It's just fun to drive, because I've never ever in the whole 11 years that I've been driving, I've never had just a impractical fun car. And I say, I think I want a convertible. And he's like, I will keep a lookout for you. We don't have many at the moment, but you know, keep a lookout. And obviously now I'm in car buying mode. So I start to look around, and it's at this point that I start to experience some slightly different sales experiences and start to compare. Incidentally, also during this time, the dealership that we buy the car from reach out to me and they say, hey, look, we heard that you were a salesperson from one of our salespeople and they really liked you. And we heard you've got this book. Can we get a copy of it? Maybe you could come in and train some of our staff, which I thought was hilarious, by the way. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Off we go. And it just made me think, there's a dealership where everyone talks to each other. They know their customers. You know, they actually think about their sales experience and they think about improving it. So anyway, I get to searching for cars. I go out for coffee with a friend of mine and we start talking about convertibles. And I say, well, I'm looking at BMWs. And my friend says, well, what else have you considered? And I'm like, well, nothing really. So I go home, I go onto the internet, as you do, and I type in fun convertibles to drive for small people, because I'm not tall. And I find mini convertibles, and I find Mazda MX-5s and Fiat Spiders and Porsche Boxsters. Now, I'm kind of the person, I don't drive a lot. So I'm like, a Porsche Boxster would be lovely, but also I would very rarely drive it. It would always have to be kept in our underground garage, which would drive Sam nuts, because then he would never get to park his car in there. So I discount that immediately. Fiat Spiders, I've never been a fan of Fiats. I used to have a Seicento a long time ago, but I'm like, nah, you know, not really doing it for me. And so I immediately go, right, I either want a Mazda MX-5 or I want a mini convertible. And here's the sales experiences for the two. Mini, I ring up, and again, one Saturday, Sam and I were sat here and I'm like, do you know what? I really fancy like test driving a Mini today. I look at the website for the dealership and I decide on one that I really like. I'm like, it's the right color, it's convertible, it looks like it'll be fun to drive. Can we go test drive it? So I ring the dealership and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll get someone to call you back and they'll tell you if you can come test drive. So I get a salesperson, they call me back and they're interested. They're like, oh, okay, cool, you've got a Suzuki Swift, great, yeah, okay, no worries, come on in an hour. So off we hop. The salesperson I get is then bored witless. Okay, we walk into the showroom. They're kind of happy to see us because the showroom is dead. And yet, as we're sitting down and they're asking us, and I'm not going to say male, female names, whatever, because unlike Ryan, they weren't great. As we sit down, we tell them, oh, yeah, Sam's just bought a BMW and, you know, it's a 4 Series or something. And that's why I'm looking. I want something that's impractical, that's fun, celebrate my birthday. And the salesperson says to us, I really like Mercedes A-classes. And we kind of look at each other and then we look at the salesperson and we're like, what? And they say, oh, well, you just bought a Mercedes A-class. And I say, well, no, we didn't. We bought a BMW. And they go, oh, right, yeah, cool. Then they pick up the phone while we're there. Okay, so mistake number one, they didn't listen to a basic piece of information. Mistake number two is that the phone starts ringing, just generally. There are other people around to answer it, and they say, I'm going to get that. And they just pick it up and start talking. Now, it's clear that the person on the other end of the phone is not a customer. In fact, they are a rather irate member of staff who is angry that somebody has parked their car in front of his and he now can't drive home for the afternoon. So the salesperson sits there and they have, I kid you not, an 8-minute discussion with this person about whose car it could possibly be and whether or not they should email everybody that works at the dealership to find out whether they can move the car. At this point, I'm not feeling as happy about the sales process at the dealership as I was when we went to BMW. I guess I signify this. I'm somebody who, my face just cannot lie. I sometimes really wish it could. So obviously by this point, I'm looking progressively more hacked off because I've now not been listened to and we've now got this weird phone conversation happening. And Sam actually pokes me and says, stop with the resting bitch face. I'm like, right, okay, got it. The salesperson then says to us, okay, cool, so do you want to test drive the car? We're like, yeah, great, cool. Now, if you've never ever seen a 6'4" man get into the back of a mini convertible, I would suggest you do. Comedy value, huge. Absolutely huge. I've never seen anything so funny in all of my life. Interestingly, though, it signified another part of the sales process that didn't really work so well. If you have a salesperson who's selling a car who is, let's say, 5'5", and you have somebody who is wanting to perhaps purchase that car who is 6'4", and the car is probably less than 6'4" long, you probably let them sit in the front. Nope, that didn't happen. No offer. Just comedy value at how uncomfortable that person was going to be in the back of the car. Okay. And again, it comes down to experience. If you want someone to buy a product or a service, you make sure they test the best part of it. They get access to the best part, not hear all the worst possible bits. Aren't they hilarious? And then expect them to buy it. You can tell where this is going, right? So we go for the test drive. There are a variety of things that are okay, but ultimately I'm not enjoying the sales process. I'm not as bought into the car. If I had been brought into the sales process, I probably could have got over the issues that I have with the car. But ultimately, we drive it back to the parking lot and I immediately say, yeah, no, I don't want a Mini. Thank you. And the salesperson looks shocked. Now, bear in mind, we've just been on a 25, 30-minute test drive. At no point have they asked us any questions about what we want from this car. They haven't told us anything about the car itself, about the product. They've given us no product knowledge whatsoever. And they've asked 3 more questions about the Mercedes A-Class that we do not own. Yeah, it wasn't a great experience. So when I say, no, I don't want this car, and I don't want to buy here, they look shocked and they say, oh, okay, that's cool. Can I ask for some feedback on the car? And I say, okay, well, here's my feedback on the car. This is what I didn't like. I said, would you like some feedback on your sales process? And the salesperson went, no, thanks. Enjoy your day. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Obviously thinking, well, obviously they know that, maybe that's not the career for them long term. And so we walk across to BMW. Now, lovely Ryan is not in. We have a little look around the parking lot. There's nothing I want. So we go away. The next day I wake up, it's a Sunday. It's absolutely pouring with rain, so therefore not the best weather to look at convertibles. But I'm scrolling through the website of the local Mazda dealership and I see a couple that I actually quite like. And I think, well, surely it's best to test drive a convertible when the weather is crap. Because if I do that, I'm going to know what it's like at its worst. I'm going to know what it's like to drive at the very worst time to have it. And obviously when it's sunny again, I'll just love it. So I call them and I say, can I have a test drive? And the guy on the phone, we'll call him the lovely Adam. He says, yeah, of course, come down. He says, but before you come down, can I ask you a few questions? And I say, okay, that's cool. So I'm sat there, it's about 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, I'm sat in my PJs, chilling. And he's asking me good questions, just like lovely Ryan, right? And he's asking me, what's your budget? I want to prep some cars before you come down so that we can make sure that we've got the right ones for you to test drive and look at, so you've got a good comparison. And I'm like, well, aren't Mazda MX-5s all the same? He's like, no, no, no. So we go through, do you want a hard top or a soft top? And I don't know. I think I want a hard top, but he's like, look, why is that? And I explained that, you know, someone once told me soft tops are really hard to look after. So he's like, well, be open-minded, come down, we'll try a couple out, we'll see what you like. He asks me what kind of boot space I want and warns me, Mazdas do not have much boot space, whether you go hard top or soft top. And I'm like, okay, cool. He asked me what colors I like. How do I want it to drive? What kind of litre engine do I want? What do I do? How many miles am I going to drive it per year? Do we have a car in the house that's practical? See, he was trying to upsell us another car before I'd even got there. It was brilliant. And in the end, he tells me, look, I'm going to have 3 cars for you to come and look at when you get here. Come down in the next 45 minutes. I'm like, right, great. I go in. He's right there. Sam and I are there. We get offered tea, coffee, water. It's great. If you're thirsty, you know, just go to a car dealership. They love it. They're like, have some free juice, have some free coffee, have some free tea, pretend to look at some cars, go home. I'm joking, obviously, please don't do that. That's not cool. But we go, and he has 3 cars. And I love this because I'm the sort of person who loves good sales processes. And I also love not having tons of choice. If you give me tons of choice, I get really overwhelmed, like most people. Okay, we always say confused minds don't buy. And it's true. I don't like going to car lots and having to look at every single car because I'm just like, oh my God, they all start to look the same. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I don't know what I want anymore. And so lovely Adam had picked out 3 cars that he wanted me to look at. An older car with a hard top, a special edition, lowered suspension, newer Recaro MX-5, and then a Mazda RF, which was the newest version, which has sort of like, instead of being a convertible, it's got this kind of like weird sunroof type thing. Sounds weird, but it's actually quite cool. And he says, these are the ones that you should try. So I get into the older one and he says, look, this is a really nice car to drive, but it's older. It doesn't have some of the features you want it to have. So it doesn't have the kind of like, I was going to say stereo capacity, but it doesn't have like Bluetooth, doesn't have a sat nav, doesn't have those kinds of things, but it's a nice car to drive. And so when you said fun to drive, this is a good one. I obviously discount it, as he knows I will do. It's also at the lowest end of my budget. So what Adam is doing is showing me a good, better, best sales process. So he says to me, this is good. I can sell you this car. It won't cost, you know, even half of what your budget is, but it will be really fun for you to drive. Doesn't have a lot of the other features, but it will do what you want it to do in terms of the driving. Great. Good work, Adam. Then he shows me the better. Now the better is actually at the top end of my budget. And he says, look, this is the brand new RF, right? This is the brand new RF, sit in it, have a look. He said, again, it's, you know, hard top. He said, but here's the thing. I don't know that it's going to have the visibility, the rear visibility for you because you are quite small, which I am. So I don't mind salespeople telling me that, right? It's one of those things. It's a blessing and a curse. And I get in it and I like it. And I'm like, yep, okay, I can see it's got the features I want in terms of the Bluetooth. It's got sat nav. It's got all the bells and whistles technologically wise. It's got leather seats. I like how it looks. But he's right. The visibility is an issue because of my height. And so he whacks out his best. This is Adam's, you know, pièce de résistance as a salesperson. He says, look, I know you said you didn't want a soft top. He was like, and here's the thing. And he explains to me about soft tops and, you know, are they more difficult? Apparently not to look after. And he says, but we've got this car. I think it would be perfect for you. It's a limited edition. It's a really nice car. There are only 600 in the world made. This was number 528. It's a great color for you. It will be good for you for visibility, for your height, but it's a soft top. It's also well under your budget, but it's a really nice car. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm really not sold on the soft top thing. And he's like, just get in it and have a look. And that's the dangerous bit, isn't it? We get in it, we look at something, we test it, and I get in and I love the seats, and I love the fact that the seats are leather and heated, and that it's got the sat nav bit, and that I can sit in the car and actually see over the bonnet, which is a rare thing for someone like me. And he says, do you like this car? And I said, actually, do you know what? I do like this car a lot. And he's pointing out that it has all of the features that I want, except that it's got a soft top. By this point, it's raining. And he says, okay, do you want to get out for a test drive? Now it's a 2-seater car. Mazda MX-5s are completely impractical. Like, they have 0 boot space. They have 0 back seat space. Like, you're literally just in a go-kart, basically, with a big bonnet. Doesn't make my new car sound very attractive, does it? And I say, yeah, I'd love to. Now, obviously, because it's a 2-seater car, I don't expect Sam to be able to come on the test drive, because obviously you would expect the person who is selling me the car to need to be with it. And he's like, okay, cool, here's the keys. Off you two go. Have fun, bring it back within 45 minutes. And I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. How can I expect you both to like the car unless you both get to go around in it? We are thrilled. We take the car. Obviously, we sign a disclaimer that says we're going to bring the car back and that we're not going to break it. But we take the car, we take it off down the motorway, I drive it around. I feel like one of those people in a 50s film where I should have been wearing a headscarf and sunglasses. And there was even this brief moment of sunshine where we got to take the top down, and it was great. And there was a Bose stereo system that just blasted out Radio 1, and it was brilliant. And we get back to the dealership. And before we get out of the car, Sam says to me, this is your car, isn't it? I was like, oh my God, I love this car. And I park it next to my little Suzuki Swift, and I feel that immediate pang of, oh my God, I'm going to have to get rid of that car, but I love this car. And we go into the dealership, and he starts talking to me. The sales guy starts talking to me. And again, good sales process. He asks me, okay, what do you like about the new BMW that Sam has bought that is maybe not in the Mazda? And I say, well, actually, you know, it's got this really cool like navigation system on it that's like 3D and stuff. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, the Mazda has that. He said, but it's also got this other thing that you can upgrade to. It's an extra, I think it's £300, £299. And it's this Android Play thing. And he said, you know, you can pay £299. You can have your entire phone on there. You can put Spotify directly on the little screen that comes up. You can have Google Maps instead of a crappy standard navigation system. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. And he's like, do you know what? I always talk to people about it, and I tell them you won't understand it unless you see it. He takes us outside to his car, his own Mazda, and he shows us how it works. And both Sam and I are blown away. Sam is like, oh my God, can I get this on a BMW? And immediately starts Googling. Turns out you can't. So, who's got the better car now? But he shows us it, and I love the fact that he's so into the product that he's selling that he drives one. Now, yes, I know car salespeople, usually they get a company car. Like, it's one of those things. But I love that he was so keen to get customers into his car and show them, this is the product I can upsell you. This is how awesome I think it is. This is how I regularly use it. Look, I even have the standard navigation turned off because I never use it. I always use Google Maps. He talks regularly about the fact that we are millennials, that we use technology more. He's like, look, this is how you would turn off like WhatsApp messages on it and stuff so that you don't get distracted while you're driving. It's a good upsell experience. We get back into the showroom. He asks more questions. Again, just like Ryan did for Sam with the BMW, you know, do you chip your paint regularly? How often do you wash your car? We can offer you a paint protector. We can offer you gap insurance. We can offer you this. We can offer you that. And again, I end up buying a ton of stuff that perhaps I don't need. Perhaps I will never use. But with the questions that he's asking, I feel really good about the sales experience. I feel like actually he's listened to the pain points that I have. Like, I don't wash my car very often. I just can't be bothered. I hate doing it. And every so often I'll trot it down to the valet centre and be like, can you wash it please? And someone will do it. And he's like, right, get the paint protector. That way you can just leave it outside and it'll be fine. And, you know, you can have a basic wash every 6 months and it'll be good as new all the time. Great. £349, done. Because he asks the right questions, because he identifies who I am as a driver, I know that actually the things he's selling me, they're not just for him to make more money. He probably doesn't make a ton of commission on them, but they meet my needs. And there are some things that he says to me, you don't need that. He's like, look, I could sell you it, but you don't need it because you don't drive that many miles, or you don't need that particular feature, or you wouldn't use it because it's only for people who are, you know, Mazda car club owners or whatever they are. And at the end, I end up spending, again, you know, more money probably than I would have spent on the car if I had just bought the car, on extras, on things that I feel really good about purchasing. And again, we have this good follow-up experience, right? We have a good aftercare. He tells me when the car is going to be ready. He needs to get it valeted. He needs to get the paint protect stuff on. He needs to process it through their system, take it off the website, all that kind of stuff. And he gives me a clear time to come and pick it up. And while he's doing all this, he's also talking about personal things. We were talking about Max has just had to have an operation to have all of his teeth out. And he was saying, oh, my dog's just had that done. It's a German Pinscher. We took him to this place and he's telling us the story. By the time we walk out of there, 90 minutes after we had walked in, bearing in mind we'd taken the car for a 30-minute test drive, we both feel really good about the purchase that I just made. I take a photo of the car, I chuck it onto Facebook, gets like 100 odd likes, and I'm very excited because nothing I put on Facebook ever gets that many likes. But I feel good about it. I can't wait to pick it up. When I go and pick it up, Adam's really excited to see me. I actually take my mum with me to go and pick it up. She's really excited to be going off in a convertible. And he tells me they've put mats in it free of charge for me. They filled the tank with petrol. I have a great experience. And at the end, he asked me something really important. He says, is there anybody else you know who is considering changing their car at the moment? And at that moment, I say, yeah, I know two of my friends who are thinking about changing their car. And he said, if you think they'd consider a Mazda, would you mind giving them my email address or getting them to call me? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. And I do. That evening, I go home. I tell my two friends, you've got to go and buy a Mazda. They're great cars. I love them. We had such a great sales experience. Go and buy from Adam. And sure enough, they're now looking on the website and they're looking at Mazdas, and they probably weren't considering those before. But it's about that sales experience. And so here's the thing, we often forget, and I know that a lot of this episode, by the way, has been story, so thank you for kind of bearing with me on it, but we often forget how important sales processes are. And those are three incredibly different ones done by incredibly different people with varying results. Two are successful, obviously. One was really not at all successful. But what's important is to know what you are doing with your customers and whether or not you're actually running the right process. And that starts before the customer, gets into your inbox. Are you giving people the right information? Are you asking the right questions? Are you making sure the right information is available? Are you making sure that you are visible? We didn't have to work hard to find these garages. We typed in BMW in location, Mazda in location, and they were the first ones that came up. Easy. We asked for recommendations. They were also mentioned there. Yeah. So think about, are you being visible? Then when that sales process starts, are you finding out the customer's pain points? Are you actually selling to the right customer? The BMW chap, he sold to both of us. He knew that it was going to be the practical car. And so he was like, right, okay, let's sell to both of you. What's important to both of you? Whereas when I went and bought my car, Adam knew it was just going to be mine. It's going to be mine to drive around like a mad woman. And so he was talking to me as the primary purchaser, making sure that I had everything I needed. Yeah, think about who you are selling to, especially if you're selling to couples or if you're selling to business partners and things like that. Who is the decision maker? Who's the main stakeholder? Who do you actually need to get on side? Who's got the financial sign off, right? And then asking those important questions and not being afraid to upsell, seeing the upsells as a solution to a problem. Yes, somebody can buy your basic web design package, or they can buy your basic VA package, or they can buy your basic coaching and mentoring package or your group program. But if there's something that's going to benefit them more, or an additional resource, maybe you've got a notebook or a planner or a book or event recordings or anything that you can add on that you think would benefit that person's experience and give them more. Yeah, okay, it's going to cost them a bit extra. That is okay because it's designed to enhance their experience. Don't be embarrassed by that. Be happy to upsell your customers if it means they're going to get more value. If it means they're going to get something that enhances their experience, that they enjoy more. Yeah? Never, ever, ever be afraid or embarrassed or ashamed to upsell something that's genuinely going to make somebody's experience better, because they will appreciate it. And all they can do is say no, right? It's not a harmful thing. And then finally, again, the sales process doesn't end at the end. Ask for referrals. Ask the next question. Oh, do you know anyone else who would be interested in this? Or is there anything else that you were considering today? Do you know a friend or a colleague or your spouse who would be interested in purchasing a holiday or a car or whatever with us? And this isn't just in product-based sales. This is in everything. You can always ask for referrals. People love to give referrals if they've just had a great sales process. Don't be afraid to ask. You don't have to wait until they've worked with you. You can do it after the sales process. Okay, so that is how the car experience went, and needless to say, we are now a household of relatively fancy cars. I feel pretty good about that. And I did obviously go with the Mazda MX-5, and I do love it. I am a little obsessed with driving it around and going speedily, for me, along the motorway in my Mazda MX-5. Haven't quite got to the point yet where I'm confident enough to go top down on the motorway, but I'm sure that will happen, maybe in the summer when I'm less afraid that it will rain on me. So if you have enjoyed today's episode, obviously make sure that you head over to your podcast player and leave a little review. Let us know how we're doing. I'll be back with you on Friday, which will be awesome. But also next Monday, we're going to be talking about depreciating assets and retention selling. It's going to be a goodie. So if you are looking for something you can action and implement immediately, get onto that one. It's going to be a lot of immediately actionable and practical advice that you can go and implement in your business before Christmas hits and we get into silly sales season, so you can be making money in November and perhaps put everything on auto for December and take a little bit of a rest. I can't believe we're talking about December already. How crazy is that? Have an amazing week. I will see you on Friday, and make sure you do catch that Monday episode on depreciating assets and retention selling. It's going to be